Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances.
Accept mine. Vaishnabhyo namo namah. Okay, 10 o'clock. Hare Krishna, welcome to this last section of our units together. It will be a great relief for you to have another teacher.
No, Prabhuji, no. You are a wonderful teacher.
Yeah, but yesterday everybody disagreed with me, which is a great Vaishnava parada, obviously.
No. What was the difference? What was the difference?
No, okay. Let's connect to yesterday. Okay, we finished the session yesterday by asking a question. If everything is in Krishna, and we agreed on that, then Krishna is everywhere. Does it mean that everything is everywhere? So maybe some of you have thought more about this question and have something to share.
Who said no?
Well, so far, everyone. There was only one person who said yes, and that person was me. So Rukmini Arisevini is very determined. Today she said no. She must have thought, why not?
Prabhuji, I thought about this. I'm sharing my thinking that if I say like this, that you said that Krishna is everywhere and everything is in Krishna. Krishna is within my heart also. So everything is in my heart, is in me. So this is Mayavad Siddhant. And next time I will say that I am Krishna.
Okay, you can take that next step, but we never even touched next step. See, Mayavada means, what does it mean, Mayavada? The idea that Krishna is Maya. Okay? That Krishna,
कटोरी लाना.
somebody needs to mute. Okay, Mayavada means that Krishna ultimately is material, is Maya. It's a Brahman under Sattva-guna. That's Mayavada. Mayavadi, Krishna, Aparadi. But we are not saying that. It's just the opposite. Just the super opposite. We're saying Krishna's body is transcendental. Like we ended up with this verse yesterday that Rishabhadeva say, my body is inconceivable. So it's spiritual, eternal, all-powerful. So I don't see where the Mayavada is. Now, if you say next step, but nobody said to take the next step. Let's see, there is a Priya Satyabhama mini essay. According to the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, the concept that everything is a manifestation of Krishna energy, Krishna is indeed present everywhere. The idea is that the entire creation, both material and spiritual, emanates from Krishna. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that everything is physically present everywhere in a literal sense. The understanding is more metaphysical, suggesting that the essence or energy of Krishna permeates all aspects of existence. It emphasizes the omnipresent and all-encompassing nature of the divine. It's a spiritual perspective on the interconnectedness and unity of all Krishna, all things, through the divine energy of Krishna. So you wrote this, Priya Satyabhama, or it's AI?
No, Prabhuji, this is me.
Acha.
Hare Krishna.
So you are an articulate writer.
Found it on the internet, Prabhuji. Did not write it myself.
Oh, so you didn't write it, you just pulled it out.
Yeah, I researched it and did it.
Anyway, look, I'll explain why I say yes. Okay? Because for the simple reason that everything is in Krishna, and Krishna is everywhere, therefore everything is everywhere. Now, I need to give an explanation. Everything is everywhere, but we don't have access to that. We don't have access. Everything may be everywhere, but we don't have access to that. That's the difference. Basically, the idea, my understanding, is the universe, the material universe, is like a hologram in nature. The hologram is a graphic representation made in a particular way that any fragment of that picture contains the whole pictures. Anyway, I thought it was a stimulating question to discuss, and no, you can continue your exploration of the topic. Now, I have a request. Nobody should criticize Ganga Shakti Mataji because she was not here yesterday. Okay, she's a very important person, and means obviously she can't be expected to come to every session like that. So please, nobody should criticize her. Okay. Okay. So let's go. Let's continue with this verse that we were discussing yesterday. You can see Rishabhadeva instruction, there is a shift. Till 18 is talking about the duty of everyone, the duty of everyone. And then in text 19 is talking about himself. Let's see this verse in case you don't have it in front of you. Idam sharira mama dhurvibhavya satvam hi me hridayam yatra dharma rushte krito me yad adharma arat ato imam rishabam prahur arya. So, my transcendental body, Sachitananda Vigraha, looks exactly like a human form, but it is not a material human body. It is inconceivable. I'm not forced by nature to accept a particular type of body. I take on a body by my own sweet will. And it's very interesting how Srila Prabhupada actually, what do you call, expands in the translation on the meaning of this verse. My heart is also spiritual, and I always think of the welfare of my devotees. Therefore, within my heart can be found the process of devotional service, which is meant for the devotees. Therefore, within my heart can be found, far from my heart have I abandoned irreligion, adharma, and non-devotional activities. They do not appeal to me. Due to all these transcendental qualities, people generally pray to me as Rishabhadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all living entities. So Rishabha means the best. So here, Lord Rishabhadeva is shifting to talk about himself, how his heart is dharma. And helpfully, Srila Prabhupada explained the heart of dharma is devotional service. Sarvadharma paritija mamikam shranam praja. Okay. I want to share something else. Yesterday, we also mentioned the Mayavadi philosophers are completely unable to conceive of a spiritual body. And then Srila Prabhupada goes on saying, in the spiritual world, there is only service and the receiving of service. There is only sevya, seva, and sevaka. The person served, the process of service, and the servant. These three items are completely spiritual. And therefore, the spiritual world is called absolute. So this is an interesting categorization of what's in the spiritual world. There is only sevya, the served, seva, the exchange of love through service, and sevaka, the person who offers that seva. It's a very interesting, I found it very interesting condensation of what's in the spiritual world. Yes, then of course there are many sub-varieties, many types of seva, many types of sevakas, even different forms of God, meaning God accepting service in different modes, in different moods. But basically there are only these three things. Okay, any question from anybody about this or something that we discussed yesterday? Yes, Antaryami Balaram, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, still the idea of servant, being a servant is, is not acknowledged very nicely, is not taken very nicely here when we preach, that we are a servant or we will be a servant. So how we can, say this thing that being a servant is glorious, and how we can change the perception of being a servant?
See, okay, this is vocabulary. This is the words. Many different words have different psychological reactions, right? In some places, even you say God, people don't like the word God because it has been associated to so many other abstract idea, or it has been associated with wars of religion. It has been to many scandals by religious leaders. So some people don't even like to hear the word God, and so many other words that. So service may be one of those words that people have a negative reaction and as a negative connotation. Now, this is understandable because obviously in this world, being a servant means you are below somebody, and first generally means you are not successful in life. If all you can do is a servant, a maid servant, or say a gardener for somebody else, means you are a loser, more or less, okay? Openly speaking, you are a loser in life. Second, it opens up to exploitation. The master may not be benevolent, may just be very harsh with you, may just try to squeeze every single drop of energy for you, and so on. So maybe you should try what works better. See, service is a consequence of love. People like the word love, right? So maybe you should stress love instead of service. So and then as a consequence of love, yes, there is service. If you love somebody, you're ready to do something for the person. This everybody understands. They don't have a problem with that. If you love a girl, you'll buy what generally they say chocolates and red roses, but you buy all sorts of things, right? And so if you love your children, you'll do for Christmas or whatever you celebrate, you'll have gifts. So maybe you just stress love instead of service, and then service comes as a next step, natural next step.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Rukmini, Prabhu, Jeannie.
See, I just want to ask from the previous chapter. Oh, sorry, from this chapter, from the few verses back, you said about that we should engage our senses in the spiritual activities. One of the thing was like touch. So when I preach to some Matajis, I feel problem that they want to be loved. This is very natural tendency of the soul, but that touch, that they feel good. So how to come out of that tendency? You gave example that we can touch the tulsi leaves. So if you can suggest
I
something
said the
like
Tulsi Mala.
tulsi mala, okay.
It's a little different, but yes. So, what they want to be touched, meaning they want to be hugged. So, what's the
Yes.
problem with that?
So tendency is there. So we have to serve Krishna, right? So this is like they have this enjoying tendency to be touched by or to touch someone like this. So how should I preach them to come out of it?
Okay, see, there are many types of touches. Okay, some are based on affection, some touches are even illegal. Okay, so when you say touch, what does it mean? They want to be hugged, they want to be held. So what's the problem with that? Why they should not like? You see, in psychology, and this is kind of almost street psychology. There are different languages of love. Have you heard about that? Ganga Shakti, she heard about everything, so obviously she also heard about the 5 languages of love. It's true. I'm not picking on you, Bandage. Yeah, I'm not revenging your absence. Just so. Do you know, Rukmini, about the 5 languages of love?
No.
Okay, let me get them from you for you. 5 languages of love. Okay. This is okay. One is words of affirmation. In other words, you say something nice to the person. In other words, there are different people relate more with one of these languages. Okay, and for some people, one is more important than the other. The words of affirmation. That means you say something nice. Quality time. You're actually spending time with the person, maybe doing something together, just being with the person. Physical touch, you connect physically, like in a hug or you hold the hand. Acts of service, in other words, you do something for the person. That's very appreciated by certain type of people. And receiving gifts, you actually say, spend some money. Okay, I brought you this object. So different people. Look, I don't know this. I don't know this article, so I'm just sharing with you. But I didn't read it. I just don't look. I share it with you. You can read it later if you like, or if you're bored with the lesson, you can read it during the lesson. It's your choice. So for some people, the language of love is touch. So some devotees are not into touching. Okay, if they're not thinking, oh, I'll hug you or I'll hold your hand, they never think like that. But for some people, that's their main language of love. So I don't see why you should preach to anybody that they should not have this language of love. I don't see what's the problem.
Is it not a type of sense gratification?
Well, but even seeing the devotees, when devotees are beautiful and smiling, nice tilak, dressed cleanly, even that is pleasure. See, we are not Buddhists. We are not some sort of life-denying cult. Okay? Throughout history, there are many religious groups who are just life-denying. And they see religion that, okay, everything is sinful, everything is bad, we need to renounce, we need to suffer. We are not that. We see, we are not, we are for pleasure, but spiritual pleasure. So seeing a devotee is a spiritual pleasure. Talking with devotees is a spiritual pleasure. Listening a devotee singing is a spiritual pleasure. Listening to a devotee play mridanga is a spiritual pleasure. Embracing a devotee is a spiritual pleasure. So how is it? Yes, it is sense gratification, but it's spiritual sense gratification. And we are very much for spiritual sense gratification.
Prabhuji, I'm again taking the verse 559. Yesterday also I asked the same question. It is written, and due to knowledge, practice, and detachment, one can gradually freed from the material conception. So if I have to come out of all this, and I can help, I have to help others also. So in the terms, in the practice, it comes as we see that Save Mana Krishna Pada Aravindayor. So we have to engage all our senses. You mentioned yesterday also in the service of Krishna in the spiritual activities. So it was coming in my mind that okay, yes, you told about the five, uh, how we can love. So I was thinking that I have seen this tendency so much in Mataji's to whom I preach. So
To
I
do
was
what?
thinking that if we
To do
can
what?
get pardon,
The tendency to do what?
to do when they somebody if I also give if I pat some if I give them love care, like as you told. So if I touch them, in the hand only, if I give personally them hug, so they feel good. So this
Okay.
is like devotee to devotee. But this
Yes.
tendency is there. So I was thinking that if there is there anything that which can help us to come out.
But why you have to come out? That's my question. It's like if I say, I like to eat prasadam, okay? Rasgulla, halava, or even roti, sabji, I like. And then you tell me, no, no, you have to be free from this tendency. Why you have to be free from the tendency? I enjoy good
Okay,
food.
if that Mataji,
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the food is dear to all. You know the Bhagavad Gita. So it's not that somebody who likes food, oh, is not spiritual. Everybody likes food. Now, devotee likes prasadam. So you cannot tell a devotee, hey, you should stop liking prasadam. You should anesthetize your tongue so you don't feel anything. That's not our philosophy.
yes, if they want the same with the opposite sex, so should be told to them? This thing.
Okay, it's the same thing. We give prasadam and then we say, oh, but what if they eat boga? No, by eating prasadam, you get detachment from boga. See, there is no real detachment. There is detachment from material and attachment to spiritual. Okay, we are not just cultivating detachment. We are cultivating detachment from the material sphere and attachment to the spiritual sphere. Okay? So obviously, if you see some lady who is too promiscuous in associating with the opposite gender, then maybe you should say, hey, look, a woman is fire, man is butter. We keep some distance because obviously we want order in society. And it would be bad if you'd go beyond those boundaries. Okay? But it's not automatic that because one lady likes to hug you or to hold your hand, oh, that means that she will do it also with men. It's not, doesn't work like that.
No, they have the tendency, I'm telling you, they have the tendency that they have this desire. But I say them, so this is not good like this. So I was thinking that if I can ask you, so I can get some help, like if I can tell them it's not good. That I do, Prabhuji.
So you
But
have these women who likes to hug men. That's what
yeah.
that's
Want to
different.
touch and want to be touched. So I was thinking that if I can any help, because I
Yeah,
have
that's the whole universe. Men want to touch women and women want to touch men. We studied yesterday. Hum shastriya mituni bhavam etam. That's the drive of the universe. Though even great devatas have problem with that. Okay? Yehi sansparsha ja bhoga. Sansparsha, touching. Yehi sansparsha ja bhoga. Dhuka yonaya evate. But the point is that you started the question with people, no, ladies hugging ladies in affection, in friendship. There's nothing wrong. Now you shifted. Oh, now they want
Yeah.
to touch man. Obviously, that every civilized person knows that there are limits to that.
Fine. Actually, we have got all the
You
answers.
don't need the Bhakti Vaibhava curriculum for that.
Actually, we have got all the answers of all the questions, all explanation very nicely. So I thought to ask this also, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I got. So can we say like that? Just to, as you said, that detachment is not the thing, but we have to attach from the spiritual thing. So as when they become spiritually elevated, this thing will go. They will get detachment from this. Is it okay, Prabhuji, to say like
We, not they,
we? Okay.
we.
Okay. Yeah, of
But
course.
but the whole
Yes, yes.
process is a process of attachment to Krishna.
Yeah.
And uh, if our philosophy is correct, when you're attached to Krishna, everything else looks very pale and insignificant naturally. But at the beginning, there may be some effort because you are in between. You're in between material pleasure and spiritual pleasure. Okie dokie.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's continue our analysis. Today we have to finish this chapter and finish also the next chapter. So we need to kind of go a little fast. Okay, so text number 20, he gives an instruction specifically to his son that they should accept Bharat. He says, Rishabhadeva says, he's a great devotee, and you should all accept him. Now, there is one point that Srila Prabhupada raised. I read from the purport. The question may be asked why one should be attached to family members, for in the beginning it was advised that one should not be attached to home and family. However, it is also advised Mahiya Sampadarajo Visheka. One has to serve the Mahiyam, one who is very spiritually advanced. Okay? So if the persons who are spiritually advanced happen to be in your family, you can't reject them. Obviously. Then, and you feel free to raise your hand at any point, because we'll go a little little quicker than usual. So if you want to raise your hand at any point, feel free. Then text 21 and 22, he gives like a gradation, like a taratamya, who is higher and who is lower and so on. So finally, Rishabhadeva concludes, because I'm inclined to the Brahmanas are best of all. And Srila Prabhupada explained, although Rishabhadeva recommended his eldest son Bharat as emperor of the earth, he still had to follow the instructions of the Brahmanas. The other day we discussed about democracy, that Srila Prabhupada did not reject democracy in principle. In other words, he accepted this is the time for democracy. So here he says, in this age of Kali, the executive is not selected by very intelligent people, nor is he guided by qualified brahmanas. Consequently, chaos results. The mass of people should be educated in Krishna consciousness so that according to the democratic process, they can select the first-class devotee, like Bharat Maharaj, to head the government. So Srila Prabhupada embraced, of course, democracy has its fault. You know, Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst type of, I'm paraphrasing, democracy is the worst type of governance, besides all type of governance which have been tested before. In other words, democracy is fundamentally stupid because you have people who are not qualified who select the governments. Okay? So democracy is fundamentally faulty. At the same time, it's the best system we have. Why best system? For us, like Srila Prabhupada say, because if we convince enough people to be Krishna conscious, then they select some Krishna conscious person, and then imagine the whole parliament is very learned devotees, learned brahmanas, then really can turn around the whole world. Okay? And even materially speaking, at least in democracy, the people can see how the country is going, and if the country is going bad, countries, the state is going, they can vote this person out. They have some control. In a dictatorship, they cannot do anything. Yesterday we mentioned Putin. Putin is sending hundreds and thousands of his own people to die. But people cannot do anything. They cannot vote him out. He's a dictator. He controls everything. He controls the electoral process. He controls everything. If that will happen in some other country, immediately the citizens will vote him out. Finish. Okay? We discussed this the other day. I think it's important because, as I said, sometimes the devotees have some sort of nostalgic idea, monarchy. Monarchy is great if the monarch is great. Otherwise, it could be very, very painful. Or monarchy is just a symbol of unity. You have these monarchs who are just don't have any political power. Just because they're just representative of the unity of the state. They're head of state, but they don't have real power. They're like the president of India, right? The real power in India is with the prime minister. And the president is largely ceremonial. It's the head of the state, but it's largely ceremonial. Similarly, the Queen of England or the King of England. Just yesterday, I saw a news that the parliament is discussing in Holland, the Netherlands. They have still a king and a queen, still a monarchy nominally, but the parliament is discussing cutting the budget for the royal family into half. And if the parliament decides, the budget is cut into half. Finish. They can't do anything. Rukmini, Prabhu, Mataji.
Prabhuji, in that translation of 21 and 22, 22nd verse, it is written that Lord Shiva is since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior, but Brahma is also subordinate to me. Krishna is saying. So, Prabhuji, there is no difference between Lord Shiva and Krishna. They are just like milk and curd. So, how to understand that this line? Since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior.
Okay, first of all, let's take a step back. Obviously, there is difference between milk and curd, right? The difference is that milk can become curd cannot become milk, okay? And Shiva Tattva and Vishnu Tattva, they're two different tattvas, so there is difference. But you may say, okay, Shiva categorically is higher than Brahma, so how is that? Yeah, therefore, Srila Prabhupada say, as the father is superior, in that sense. In the family relation is superior. But as a tattva Brahma is superior in the family relation. But as a tattva, Shiva is superior. Is that clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay. Then, of course, see, let's try to understand when Rishabhadeva say the Brahmana are the top, the very, very top, and basically, Srila Prabhupada say in this verse, the Brahmanas are given a position superior to that of the Supreme Lord, which obviously we cannot take it literally. Obviously, the Brahmanas don't create and destroy the universe. But Krishna does that. Namo Brahmanya Devaya. when Sudama Vipra goes to Dwaraka, Krishna worships him, washes his feet. In the third canto, you have study when these Kumaras comes to Vaikuntha, at the door of Vaikuntha, and Narayana, and then they get stopped. Narayana say, hey, I'm sorry, my servants have offended you. If, I'm totally apologetic. And look, I'm ready to cut off my arm if that arm offends the Brahmana. So Narayana has this mood. At the same time, these Brahmanas, I was thinking when I was reading this, these are very, very special people. Very, very, very pure, very, very detached. So when we say Brahmana, it's like a little bit like we were discussing before servant, right? Taryami Balan Prabhu brought up the servant. When you think of servant, we think of a maid servant, we think of a chokidar or something like that. So when we say Brahmana, our experience of Brahmanas, I mean, okay, you go to a Ganesh temple, there is the Brahmana sitting there giving you some red kumkum or something, right? Or do you have the Brahmanas who send their children to study as Shudras, and they think that's really the highest. Once I was in South India, they told me this Brahmana, he was a Brahmana in an important traditional temple, and he said, look, I have 7 children. The intelligent ones I sent that so they can study, they go and work in America. And I have this 7th one is really stupid, so he will be the pujari. So when we think of Brahmana, we might not have ever seen, maybe in some of our spiritual masters, the more or the devotees that are more pure, more knowledgeable, then we can see glimpses or reflections, or at least, okay, we can see that Brahminical capacity, natural sense control, natural austerity, natural detachment, natural wisdom, natural knowledge. I mean, that you can see this person is a Brahman. But otherwise, obviously, we are not talking about just caste Brahmana or people just born in Brahmana families. Otherwise, this thing is inconceivable. Why they are so elevated? But apparently, Rishabhadeva, at the time of Rishabhadeva, these Brahmanas were really, really, really special. I wanted to make this point. Then, see, first he said, he was talking to the children, he said, okay, Sabara, then they started glorifying the Brahmana. Then Rishabhadeva speak with the Brahmanas. And he said, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. And it explained that when they eat, it's considered eaten by God. At the same time, of course, if Brahmanas simply eat, they are not complete representative of God, because the mouth has 2 functions, eating and speaking. If the Brahmana only eat, don't speak on behalf of the Lord, then they're only half Brahmanas. And also within the Brahmanas, there are many levels. Many levels. It's not that the whole Brahmana is the same. Like there are these Brahmanas, especially in South India, I don't know if there are also in Delhi, all they do is go and eat at the Pinda ceremonies. You have this in Delhi? So that's what they do. There's a Pinda ceremony, they go, they sit and eat. And I hear that because they get so much karma, they all have little black dots in the face. You experienced that? You seen that? I remember when I was in Chennai, there was a Brahmana, he was also devotee, but that was his job. And he had all these black dots because that was his job. So there are also different levels of Brahmana. It's not that, okay, Brahmana is all the same. Like there are different levels of Kshatriyas. Not all Kshatriyas are great emperors or great Maharaj Yudhishthira. Some are okay, the local kings. Similarly, Vaishyas. And similarly, Shudras. Some Shudras are extremely sophisticated, expert in what they do. They can be a personal servants of kings and emperors. And some Shudra, okay, they just have a skill, okay, like electrician, they can fill, they can No, put together two wires, fine. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada say this: any civilization not based on Brahminical culture or guided by Brahmanas is certainly a condemned civilization. Because there's no head. There's no head, what they'll do. If they are Kshatriyas, but they're not controlled by Brahmanas, by culture, they don't go to Gurukula, they don't learn to respect the Brahmanas, like we see the history of Europe, right? Srila Prabhupada said that the Kshatriya that ran away from Parashurama ended up in Europe. You heard that, right? So the Kshatriya who were not killed by Parashurama went up to Europe. So in Europe and then consequently America, there is kind of some Kshatriya blood. And if you study the history of Europe, it's all kings fighting with each other. They conquer this, then they reconquer this, and then they fight this, and then they fight up and down and down, left and right. The whole history of the continent is just fighting and killing each other because there was no wisdom to guide them. It's just like a wild, feral desire of control. There are so many wars. Some wars lasted 30 years. There is one war is famous called the War of 100 Years. Can you imagine a war of 100 years? Anyway. Okay, if there's any question or desire to elaborate anything, please raise your hand or speak up. Okay, very interesting also, I find the number 24, the Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Shabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. And obviously, we are talking of Brahmana who understand the Vedas. Because some Brahmanas nowadays, okay, they may know a lot of mantras, but they may not know the philosophy. Ultimately, if you have a good brain, you can learn the Vedic hymns. But do you understand the philosophy behind those Vedic hymns? Do you know what those Vedic hymns actually explain? So here, Rishabhadeva said, they describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, they preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. But we see, unfortunately, Brahmanas nowadays, they stop preaching. And very often, if they preach nonsense. So, Srila Prabhupada reinforces this idea. He says that Krishna comes from a spiritual world to induce the people to surrender unto him. Quote, similarly, the Brahmanas do the same thing. After assimilating the Vedic instructions, they assist the Supreme Lord in his endeavor to deliver conditioned souls. So in the pure sense, the Brahmanas are really personal, intimate assistants of God. Because God comes, he comes to reestablish Dharma, and then the Brahmanas are the vehicles to establish Dharma in society. Because they have schools where everybody goes, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmana, they all go to Gurukula, so they get this respect, they get this culture, they go back and they continue leading the Kshatriya, leading the Vaishyas and so on, and leading the Shudra, leading everybody. But if the Brahmanas don't do that, then people are lost, because then the lower modes take over. So Srila Prabhupada was very, very keen that ISKCON becomes a Brahminical society, produce people who can be leaders of society, can teach, look, this is right, this is wrong. This is one of the most important aspects of Krishna, of Krishna consciousness. It's a work of the Brahmana. At the same time, it's not a caste system. Everybody can become a Brahmana, everybody can become a preacher, and everybody can become a guru. Srila Prabhupada said, even a coolie, the porter at the station, you call it coolie also in Hindi? Huh? See, even a coolie can become a guru. He may not be so educated, so intellectual, but whatever he learned, he can repeat. And so he's a guru in his own community, in his own family, in his own neighborhood. And we see this. Some devotees are simple by social background, but they're very enthusiastic. Whatever they know, they preach. And sometimes they're very effective. But you know these things, so. 25th verse, the Brahmanas do not seek material comforts from me. They are very pure and do not want to possess anything. Akinchananam mahi bhakti bhajam. So we are talking about special Brahmanas. They are very pure and do not want to possess anything. 26. My dear sons, you should not envy any living entity, be he moving or not moving, knowing that I'm situated in them. You should offer respect to all of them at every moment. In this way, you offer respects to me. And Srila Prabhupada makes this point that he makes many times. We should not make any particular distinction between the poor and the rich, like the foolish worshippers of Daridra Narayan. Narayana is present in the rich as well as the poor. One should not simply think Narayana is situated among the poor. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada said, look, we should not just distribute prasada to poor people. Otherwise, it's kind of karma kanda. Prasada is for people, poor people and rich people. It's for everybody. It's not just to fill bellies. It's to give the touch, the spiritual touch of Krishna prasada. So, of course, as devotees, we come to so much background. Sometimes we are influenced by this thing. Oh, the poor, the poor, the poor. No, the rich are also poor. They'll be rich for a few years, then they die. So where is that richness? Where is the wealth? You're condemned to death. So, okay, so what? You have a few crores in the bank. Okay, still you're getting sick, still you're dying. So you also need prasada. '27, the true activity of sense organ, the sense organs, mind, sight, words, and all the knowledge gathering and working senses is to engage fully in my service. Now, we need to understand this. The soul has senses. We have senses as spirit souls. And these senses are covered by the external senses. The external senses are only portals, like doors, like instruments. But the senses, the real perception is of the spiritual senses. For instance, seeing. Who is seeing? The eyes don't see anything. It's like a window. Look, the window. Here, there's a window. Now, I go and see outside through the window, but the window doesn't see anything. So this whole apparatus that I have with these eyes, then there is a optic nerve, and there's a brain, and this and that. It's only to bring these images through the senses to the soul. The eyes don't see anything. The brain doesn't see anything. It's the soul that sees through its original senses, which are covered. It's like if you put, say, pink lenses, you see everything pink. How can we prove that? Well, you just go to sleep. You just go to sleep, and then what happens? You start dreaming. And in the dream, you see many things, but your eyes are closed. The room is dark. Still, you see things. Who is seeing? It's the soul that's seeing. Both when you're awake or when you're dreaming, is only the soul that sees. Sometimes This is what I observe. Sometimes devotees are a bit of a impersonal understanding of the soul. It's like also because sometimes the soul, no, just like our pictures is only like a little lamp, no? So it's like, okay, it's a little spark. But the soul is a complete person with senses, with mind, intelligence. And these senses of the soul and the mind of the soul is covered by an artificial mind and an artificial senses. But these artificial minds, artificial senses don't perceive anything because they're blind, they're jaratattva. It's only the soul. When there is any perception, it's only the soul that perceives. Rukmini, Mataji,
Prabhuji, if something is happening, like if I'm feeling good, this is my mind is perceiving, and if I get hurt, like if I get something cut in my hand, blood is coming. So is this the soul who is suffering, or as you said that the soul perceives? So how to understand this is according what I have understood till now. I'm just sharing my understanding that this is all contaminated consciousness which feels the sorrow, everything which is happening, because soul is Sachidanand. It is soul is eternal and connected to Krishna. So how to understand it? What to think soul perceives, as you said, and what is like soul doesn't get affected. This is like contaminated consciousness which gets, because if you see the example of senior devotees like Maharaj, so they are above the body level, so whatever disease they get, actually they are not affected, they are in a spiritual bliss.
what
So
does it mean they're not affected? They don't feel the pain?
yeah, they feel the pain but they are not affected from it.
So what does it mean, not affected?
uh, if I talk about myself, if I get hurt, so I'm feeling, but in their case, they are in spiritual bliss all the time. Who
Okay,
gets the feel?
this sounds a bit mythological to me, okay? Because look, I mean, you may be Maharaj, you may be even Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, if you study, he spoke so much that he was suffering due to his ailments. If you see, some people like to think, no, it's all a drama, it's all a lila, nothing is happening. He wasn't feeling anything, but there is really no evidence of that. Srila Prabhupada spoke so many times about his physical problems. He said, I could not sleep because of headache, or he said, on the Jaladuta, he wrote, okay, headache, dizziness, vomiting. Now, when he was vomiting, you may think, no, he was in an extreme bliss while he was vomiting. But I believe this is a bit of an artificial understanding. Just give me a second. Sorry for the interruption. So we need to understand the philosophy clearly. Bhumir, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, Kam. 5 gross elements, and then the 3 subtle energy, Manasa, Buddhi, Ahankara. These are Pinna Prakriti Ashtada. This is separate Prakriti. Okay? This Prakriti is Jada Tattva. This is Prakriti is inert. They don't feel anything. The mind doesn't feel anything. The ego doesn't feel anything. The intelligence doesn't feel anything. Because they have no consciousness. Only if you are chit, you can feel. Otherwise, you have no identity. So how can something with no identity can feel anything? Okay? We need to be very clear. Sometimes colloquially, We may say, oh, my foot hurts. We understand. Okay, or my tooth hurts. Okay, we understand it's a colloquial expression, but the foot doesn't feel anything. It's only the soul that feels. Now, you say, no, but the soul is transcendental to the body, asangoyam purusha. Okay, so how does it happen? Yes, but we are encapsulated, we are incorporated, we are embodied. So, as you said, the consciousness. See, consciousness is like a crystal. Crystal is transparent. But if you put, say, a red flower in front of the crystal also become red. Now, is it really red or not red? You can say, no, it's not red because the flower is in front of the crystal. But still you can say, no, it's red because it's red. So what does it mean? So two things to understand. Matter in all its manifestation does not feel anything. Some matter configuration are more simple, and we understand. Like many of you have a table in front of you. That's just dead wood. It's understandable that, okay, this, you can put a knife on the wood and nothing happens. You understand? Everybody can understand that. Certain things are more subtle, like a television or a computer screen. It seems that there's so many things happening because you're sitting in front of the television. There is colors, there is shapes, there is music, there are people talking. So many things happen. But we understand that the television doesn't feel anything. We understand that. It's just an electric arrangement, and somehow these images and sound come, but the television is not conscious of the programs. Similarly, the mind is more subtle, just like a television is more subtle than a table. Table is just a slab of wood. Television is much more complex. So similarly, the mind is much more subtle, but still it's like a television. There are so many things happening, but none of these things, the mind is not conscious of them. It's only the soul that, that is conscious of the contents of its mind. So when the soul is in Jagrata, like hopefully all of us now, that we are awake, we are conscious of our environment through the senses. When we are in Swapna, we are conscious of the contents of our mind in dream. That should be clear. So when we say the mind is disturbed, again, it's a colloquial expression. The mind is not disturbed because it's inert. It's like a television. There may be a horror movie. It's a horror movie, a lot of blood and so on. But the television is not disturbed. Okay? So the mind, we can say, obviously, we could say colloquially, my mind is disturbed, but the mind is not disturbed because it's inert, it's blind, it's dead, it's achit. Does it help?
Thank you so very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
So anytime there is perception, is the soul will perceives. But because again, there are so many filters and so many encapsulations, then of course we start sharing. And the idea that Maharaj, a sannyasi, doesn't feel pain, it sounds a bit imaginary to me. Yeah, there may be some yogis really they go so beyond the body that anything that happens to the body they don't feel. But in our experience, in our observation, when a sannyasi undergoes surgery, or when a sannyasi hit his foot, or when he has indigestion, or some problem in the stomach, or when he is cold, then they feel cold.
Thank you so
Okay, so 27, the true activity, oh, we just read that. So ideally, the sense organs, which are only artificial and acquired and external, they should be engaged in the service of the Lord. That's all. Basic, that's Rishikena Rishikesha. Sevanam, Bhakti Uchati. Because they're instrumental of the real senses. That's all. 28. Okay, so 27 is the last word spoken by Rishabhadeva Maharaj. Remember, this is a big convention. It's a Brahminical convention. First the Brahmana spoke, and then the king, the emperor, who happens to be Krishna, spoke. And he spoke to everybody. He spoke to the children, he spoke to the Brahmanas. So now he's finished. So Shukadeva Goswami says that he's done this as an example of a father teaching before retiring. Of course, the father teaches throughout the life of the sons, but especially before retiring, they may want to give some farewell address, some final words, some final instructions, which are generally taken very seriously, just like we take seriously the final instruction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or Srila Prabhupada. We take very seriously what he said at the conclusion, just like we take very seriously the end of the Bhagavad Gita. In one sense, the end of the Bhagavad Gita is more important than the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. Like Krishna says so many things. He say, hey, Arjuna, even if you're a Buddhist and if you think everything is matter, just moving around and creating life, and don't worry, But that's not the essence of Bhagavad Gita, right? Or when Krishna says, anyway, you're a Kshatriya, if they start talking bad about you, you will feel so bad. That's true, but it's not the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The essence of Bhagavad Gita is right in the middle, Mamana Bhamamad Bhakto, and then at the end, Mamana Bhamamad Bhakto. That's the essence of the Gita. So you could say that, okay, at the end has got more solemnity, because when you end something, you want to give the conclusion, you want to leave an impression. Maybe you spoke about so many things, but then at the end you say, okay, this is the thing. Okay? So obviously here, before retiring, he wants to leave something memorable. And in fact, it's so memorable that we are here millions, hundreds of millions of years after, and we are still studying. We are still trying to understand what he meant, what the context of his instructions were, how they apply to us. And they're still fresh. They're still lively. They're still alive. They're still completely applicable. And this is the marvel, really, of Bhagavatam. Because you could say these words and you just see, yeah, Punsastriyami Tunibhava Meta, that's still the drive of the world. And there are still animals who eat stool, and people who act like animals. So you can see, it's nothing, they say, no, nothing is new under the sun. But here, this is the light, not just of the sun, this is the light that gives also light to the soul, gives direction. Nunam pramata krute vikarma. These words are immortal. They resonate for hundreds of millions of years. So we are very fortunate. I mean, there are more than a billion, almost half a billion, 1.5 billion people in India. How many of them right now, Sunday morning, they're studying these instructions? So we are very fortunate. And this we own this to Srila Prabhupada, we own this to the Parampara, we own this to Vyasadeva, we own Shukadeva Goswami, we own to everybody. We own this to Bimla Prasad, right? He arranged this thing, right? Huh? Is he the organizer of Bhakti Vaibhava? We own it to Rukmini Arisevini, who is coordinating this whole thing, right? So then there is a complete shift, almost like wow, it's like, I mean, somebody reads the Bhagavad may not expect. Then Rishabhadeva as an Avaduta. It just completely, imagine he was the king of the world, and then it shift in one moment, now he's an Avaduta. And frankly, some of these verses I find hard, really painful to read, because then what happened is mistreated. It actually hurts to read all this insult and mistreatment. It said that these bad people, they started spitting on him, urinating on him, throwing rotten fruit to him. So they see him as a mad person. They didn't know this is the emperor. They didn't know. It's completely incognito. And these are bad people, because nice people won't do that. No, even if there is real mad person, they won't do that. But these are bad people. And so he is maltreated but unaffected. And at the same time, the Bhagavatam is playing, he really appeared beautiful because he's very peaceful, very serene, because it's Krishna. That always helps. And he has this smile, but it appears like a hunted person. You see sometimes in India, also in the rest of the world, you see haunted people. They go, they speak with by themselves. They're all dirty, encrusted with dust. This big hair, matted hair. They wear rags. We have all seen them, right? So the Lord does this thing. So it is said, text 34, he followed the behavior of cows, deer, and crows. And then 35, which is the last of this chapter, it says that Rishabhadeva awakened the loving symptoms of crying, laughing, and shivering. He was always absorbed in transcendental love, always crying, laughing, shivering. So, and this reminds us of Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, who is absorbed in the love of Krishna, and so Rishabhadeva is Krishna, who is also absorbed in the love of Krishna. So there is this parallel. And there is parallel that, okay, Lord Chaitanya was a sannyasi, everybody knew was a sannyasi, and so on. So the social dynamics were different. But still, he would do things, inconceivable things. Like there was the story of in Puri, there was this fisherman, and he was fishing in the ocean like they still do in Puri, and they got in the and they caught what he thought was a ghost. Was a ghost. He thought, oh, I got this ghost, long ghost, and I touched. And now I cannot stop saying Hari Hari Krishna Krishna Krishna. So Swarup Damodar said, don't worry, I'm a big exorcist. What happened actually was that he touched Lord Chaitanya, but he thought was a ghost. Because then in the night you fish something out. Whoa, what is this? So similarly, Rishabhadeva, it's in a very similar mood. It's completely beyond the body, the social, and nothing, just everything. But it is a little painful to see these people spitting on them. I have a picture here. I want to show to you because it's not a very famous picture. See, this is Rishabhadeva, and of course the artist tries to do as much as possible beautiful, but you see these people throwing stones and insulting like that. Anyway, this is an artist rendering of Rishabhadeva by Prema Vilasa. Actually, I know this. She's an Italian She's an Italian artist. I know her. Okay. You know this this Mahabharat you know this Mahabharat rendition by Gyananjana? You know? No? I need to show.
The paintings, Prabhuji, the Mahabharat painting collection
Yeah. Do
by
you know?
the Italian Prabhu. Yeah, I've seen.
So there is a book also. You can find in Amazon.
He also has a PDF available online, I believe, on his website.
Okay. This is a book I'll show you. Mahabharata, paperback, by Giampaolo Tomasetti. His name is Gyananjana Prabhu. And Krishna Dharma, famous author, probably he put this text. Okay. So this is, it costs 849 rupees. It's costly because it's a art book. And anyway, the photo, the picture I showed you, that's the wife. She's also an artist, Prema Vilas. And I'll show you something else. You can find all these pictures of the Mahabharat in Villa Vrindavan, Florence, and they have dedicated this some big hall to this they have a museum. They call it MOSA, means Museum of Spiritual Art. Did any of you ever been to Villa Vrindavan, Italy?
I don't think it was there when we went last, Prabhu.
When did you go?
I think it was what, 2013, 14?
No, that came later. So this is the villavrindavan.org site. That's the English version. This is the Museum of Sacred Art. So you can go there and you find all these pictures. Some are these Mahabharat pictures, some are others. Let me show something. This is the place where I first shaved up. So, Museum of Sacred Heart. These are all the pictures you could see there. I mean, not all, of course, there are many, many, many more. This is some photos of Villa Vrindavan outside. And they also have sculptures. But they have all these pictures from the Mahabharata. Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a glimpse. This is part of the wealth of art and culture of ISKCON. And Hridayananda Maharaj just published a audio book on Mahabharata. You heard about that? The Invasion Begins. Let me also share that. Okay, this is a new production. This is from ISKCON News, ISKCONnews.org, the official news agency of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And just from January 15, audiobook review of Great Bharat, The Invasions Begin, Volume 1, by Dr. Howard Resnick. Hridayananda Goswami. So there is a review of this audiobook. Okay, these are some news. I'm not sure we get that. Yeah, the artist was the wife, and then Mahabharat. Okay. Any question or comments on anything? Do you want an early break? Generally, we break at 11:30, but if you want an early break, we can do an early break. Antaryami, Prabhu, early break? Huh? How much break you want? 45 minutes? I don't know. Yeah. It's a democratic system, so, take a vote.
10
10
minutes should be
Huh?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Who spoken? It's like, who spoke?
Me, Prabhuji. 10
Oh,
minutes.
okay. No, I didn't get. Okay, I thought it was some Akashvani or something. Okay, so 10 minutes, and then you please come back refreshed. We'll start at 11:26. Okay, so okay. Hare Krishna. So 11:26. Thank you for being back. Of course, I don't know how many people are back because most of you are like black walls, all I see. So maybe some of you took I don't know, a dog for a stroll in the park or something. Priya Satyabhama say, back, Prabhuji. Very good, thank you. Okay, so chapter 6, the activities of Lord Rishabhadeva. So the end of the previous chapter introduced this shift, a spectacular shift from being the emperor of the world to being an avaduta. Even not a beggar, because apparently he wasn't even asking for any, he was not begging, he was not asking for charity, he was just going around. So, Maharaj Parikshit, who is listening, asked, why Lord Rishabhadeva refused to manifest mystic yogic perfections, since for a devotee they're not at all disturbing. In other words, yogic perfection, the siddhis, can be disturbing. Can be disturbing because they're material. One can increase that Ishvara bhava. Okay, I can become very small, I can become very big, I can read people's mind, I can travel without a vehicle, and no, can be disturbing to somebody's spiritual life because one starts identifying with these powers and starts desiring even more and more and more. It's a subtle greed, but it's a greed. That's why I said, Bhakti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataiva Shanta. So, Bhakti Mukti Siddhi Kami, those who want sense gratification, gross, those who want mukti, impersonal liberation, especially jnanis, and the Siddhi Kami, yogis who are trying to become, they're all ashanta, they're all non-peaceful, they're all agitated. Why? Because they always desire something. But Krishna Bhakta Nishkama, he doesn't want anything in this material world. Of course, he wants to preach, he wants to open temples, he wants to satisfy the Lord, Guru, and Krishna. But for himself, it's peaceful. He's not trying to expand his personal name and fame. He doesn't do things for self-aggrandizement. Doesn't want to become anything in this world. Doesn't want Svargaloka. Doesn't want, no, na Danam, na Janam, na Sundarim, Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye. He only wants service. So, but Parikshit Maharaj say, for a devotee, what to speak of Rishabhadeva, mystic powers, and he had all these mystic powers, they're not disturbing. So Srila Prabhupada explained, if by the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee achieves extraordinary opulence, he utilizes the opportunity for the Lord's service. He is not disturbed by the opulence. So this is the question that opens the chapter. Why it did not manifest the siddhis, although for him was not disturbing at all. Of course, Krishna is Yogeshwar. So for him, that's what he is. He has all the mystic powers. He can do anything anytime. So it's not a problem, no? Like for us, switching on light, when you enter a room, even less. You can do that with the mind. Why? So now we'll see what Shukadeva Goswami says. And obviously, this principle applies to advanced devotees, because devotees were neophytes or mixed. They can be in the movement since 30, 40, 50, 60 years, but they may still have a very much an eagerness for praise, eagerness for being recognized. There was a devotee, I don't want to mention a name because I forgot his name, but there was a devotee who he at one point he became a sannyas candidate. Senior devotee, I think was Srila Prabhupada disciple. I think Srila Prabhupada disciple senior, he was in his 60s, and he wanted to take sannyas. Okay? But he was a little strange, frankly speaking. Like a little, once he was in a city that he didn't know, and one devotee from that city was leading him from the front, like Maharaj, not Maharaj, but Prabhu this side, and he rebuked him. He said, "No, I'm senior to you. You should walk in the back." But he didn't know the road, so it was some strange thing. I remember once I was in Vrindavan, and he gave a class. And at one point he said, and please don't take this as a criticism. This is as an observation of some mentality which of somebody who may be affected by opulence or desire to be great. Okay, so he was giving class, and then he said, in the middle of the class, he said, "Well, actually, I wasn't planning to say this, but I said this because this is a sign of my surrender. This is real surrender. Like Krishna inspired me to say this, therefore I'm saying this, so you see how surrendered I am." It's like, what are you talking about? It was a little strange. It was a little strange, okay? And then finally the GBC removed him from the list of sannyas because it was a bit strange. I mean, the other devotees were strange. And but he wanted the danda, okay? So he just left ISKCON. He went to some Gaudiya Math. And last time I saw him, he was in a photo of a Gaudiya Math sannyasis with his danda. He took sannyas outside ISKCON because in ISKCON they were not giving him sannyas. Oh, there is another story. There was a devotee in South America, simple guy, simple boy. He was doing book distribution, nice devotee and everything. Then he got an inheritance, and not very much, it's not $10,000, which now would be maybe now would be what, 30 lakhs, the purchasing power. Okay. And he left the movement immediately. And he spent all the money in women and drugs and this and that. It just blew the money away. And then when he had no money, he came back to the temple. Because it's finished, like Svargaloka is finished, you got to come back. And the devotee said, "Come on, you could have given some money to the temple. Oh, I'm sorry, what to do." So that's a case where opulence really affected him because he was very humble, hardworking as a brahmachari when he had no money. When he had a little money, immediately, wow, now I can enjoy Haribo. No? So this is a principle. In fact, Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, famous president of the United States of America, he said, basically, everyone can tolerate adversity. But the real character is when somebody is given power. The real character is shown when somebody is given power. I mean, there are so many poor people in India, right? And they beg, maybe at the traffic light. And they have to be humble, not to just ask. They're very humble. Okay, give me a job. Yeah. So in one sense, more or less, everybody can tolerate adversities. Sometimes there's no. But then when you give a little power, when you give a little control, then their character comes out. And maybe they're really nasty people. So you have some chokidars, okay? They're uneducated, illiterate, there's really, some village somewhere in Bihar or something, they come to Delhi and you put them in front of the door and they're so nasty. The little power, they use it at 100% or 200%, much more than what they are requested to do. So it's a fact that power, opulence, tests one character. Back to this question, Maharaj Parikshit say, anyway, devotees at a certain level that's my footnote, at a certain level, they're not affected by opulence. Okay, they are opulence, they put to the service of Krishna. It's like direct. Oh, I got opulence. Okay, let's use it for Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada, the verse says, the verse 2, which is the elaboration on this theme. This is the answer by Shukadeva Goswami. So he says that after capturing animals, a cunning hunter does not put faith in them, for they may run away. Similarly, those who are advanced in spiritual life do not put faith in their mind. In other words, of course, yes, Rishabhadeva is Krishna himself, it's a different category. But because he's showing example to the yogis, so he's not even using his mystic powers. Why? Because Shukadeva Goswami gives this analogy. You capture the mind, but the mind can always run away because of so many samskaras, so many vasanas, so many automatisms that they're there in the mind. So just like a hunter, he captures something like a monkey or a pigeon. It doesn't trust them. No, until they have to be in the cage, otherwise they'll run away. So very, very relevant analogy. And then Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 18.5, Yagyadanat pa karma natyajam karyameva tat, that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. So Srila Prabhupada says, even one who has renounced the world, has taken sannyas, should not renounce chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Renunciation does not mean that one has to renounce Sankirtan Yagya. So one may be purified through Sankirtan Yagya and everything, then he takes sannyas, now is Maharaj and everything, but it doesn't mean that he has to stop the means of purification. Srila Prabhupada continues, similarly, one should not renounce charity or tapasya. The yoga system for control of the mind and senses must be strictly followed. Lord Rishabhadeva showed how severe types of tapasya could be performed, and he set an example for all others. And Shukadeva Goswami continues in the same vein. In fact, he quotes, say, Tata Choktam. Somebody said, some learned scholars said, what they say that the mind is by nature very restless, and one should not make friends with it. If we place full confidence in the mind, it may cheat us at any moment. Even Lord Shiva became agitated upon seeing the Mohini form of Lord Krishna, and Shobhari Muni also fell down from the mature stage of yogic perfection. And Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse that he quotes many times from the Bhagavatam, that one is forbidden to sit down in a solitary place, even with one's mother, sister, or daughter, because again, the last can take control. The last can take control. You never know. No, socially, ethically, you may say, no, but she's my sister, she's my daughter, she's my mother. Yeah, okay, but some accidents do happen. So never trust completely. We should never think that, oh no, okay, no, I've been practicing these four regulative principles, so I got them. No. You may have got them for 20, 30 years, fine, but maybe next day you are not getting it anymore because you start trusting the mind. And then And then the mind captures you. Any questions on these points? Any comments? Any experiences, observations, insights? Now, these stories, like even Shiva or Shobhari Muni having this obviously kind of fall downs, they're important for us to learn because one should never feel safe in one sense. Hmm? And that's why so many, I mean, you are Bhakti Vaibhava students, so I can speak openly about the history. So many of our leaders, spiritual leaders, have a lot of problems because maybe they have been so nice devotees, hardworking, and so it was trusted that they can become spiritual master, accept disciples, but then there are problems. Then the problems, and they left ISKCON, they left either the ashram, or they were not gurus anymore. See, there are some gurus in ISKCON that you probably never heard about, and they were gurus and they left. How many of you have heard about Brikodar Prabhu? Raise your hand. He was a guru in North America. And then I don't know where he is now. Certainly he's not a guru anymore. Or Rukmini Pati. How many of you heard of Rukmini Pati? Was a guru in South America. It's not guru anymore. I don't know where he is. Maharam Prabhu. Have you ever heard from Maharam Prabhu? He was also a guru in ISKCON. And he's not guru anymore. Turiya Prabhu. Ever heard Turiya Prabhu? He was a guru. Actually, he was a guru in Czech Republic, and he had a little farm. And basically, at one point, this farm became like his personal harem. You know harem? When a sultan keeps all the concubines. So it became. Sorry, someone gestured to me from the window. Okay, so he had like this farm isolated in Czech Republic, and he had a bunch of girlfriends, and he was the guru. And I can go on. But maybe this cough tells me that I should not go on. But my point is this: people really, when they have power, when they have control, when they have influence, they may face challenges that before they were not facing. You know that Marwari proverb that says shallow rivers overflow fast? Have you heard this? Any Marwari here? No. All Punjabis? I don't know. Of course, we are not the bodies. So. But anyway, there is a Marwari proverb: shallow rivers overflow fast. In other words, some people, by nature, they can get up to one stage socially, or in this case, spiritually. And then when they got more power, more influence, more control, and then they go out of the boundaries. But we have Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Prabhuji, initially when we come to ISKCON, there are some gross changes that we need to make in our lifestyle, in our thought process. even in our habits, which we are able to do. It's only the trouble begins when you become a little older, when you are 15, 17, 18 years into the movement or later. And then thus, when we have to work on the subtle things and whatever fall downs we've been talking about, I'm sure there were tendencies, there were proclivities which were behind those fall downs. How can we as a community, first of all, develop acceptance for the fact that these accidents can happen with anyone anytime? And secondly, as preachers, how can we help people to deal with them when they happen, or ensure that they can kind of develop resistance to these traps?
So the first question was how to protect the community or something?
Yes, Prabhuji, how do we develop acceptance to become broad-minded that these things can happen with anyone? Because a lot of times when these fall downs happen, we become, because they're happening with somebody else. So, we have a tendency to become critical or judgmental. But we need to develop, acceptance and buoyancy as a community to be able to come out of it.
Okay. See, we are studying Bhagavatam, and the Bhagavatam is our main scripture. And the Bhagavatam, in one sense, it's a history of fall downs. It doesn't only talk about fall downs, but there is one fall down after another. Subtle fall down, gross fall down. The Shobari Muni, he was a yogi, but he just saw these two fish having their thing, and he just, he had to go. But of course, because he had made an offense to Garuda, the whole history is there. So these stories are not just there. Obviously, we understand they're not just there for entertainment, or they're not just, symbologies. These are real chronicles of how people had problems. Therefore, the Bhagavatam includes Lord Brahma, includes Lord Shiva, includes Indra, includes the top people in the universe and the great yogis. Vishwamitra Muni, he was almost killed by Sudarshan Chakra, and so many other smaller people who had problems. We see these bad people who insult Rishabhadeva. They don't understand anything. So, what does it mean? Yes, spiritual life is dangerous. Dangerous meaning, Srila Prabhupada says, the material energy always tries to recapture a soul that is trying to go beyond her control. That's her service. That's her service, is to test how sincere one is. So we need to understand this. The history remains the same. The song remains the same. You try to elevate, and some people are successful, and some people are not successful. Even the Bhagavad Gita speaks about that. Arjuna, so what would happen to the yogi who can finalize? Krishna say, well, look, Krishna says, one who does good is always good. Yes, they may be reborn as in a family of yogi, they maybe go for a detour in Svargaloka, but at the end, whatever they did in spiritual life, it counts. No, Nebikramana Shusti Pratyavayana Vidyate. So it's like a concomitant factor. Fall down and deviations is a concomitant factor of spiritual life, just like death and wounds are concomitant factor of war. You can't have a war where nobody gets touched, and everybody's healthy, and nobody gets touched by bombs or by bullets or by swords or by spears. No, war means somebody will die and somebody will be affected. So in this war against material energy, or to be more maybe specific, to the war against our anarthas, our past, our anchors, psychological anchors in this war, sometimes the anchors win. So we need to understand that this is the situation. It has always been like that at every level of the universe. And there is no reason why it should not be also like that in our community. And in terms of preaching, is that we are individuals. Everybody has got their degree of sincerity, their degree of determination, their degree of spiritual strength, their degree of capacity of handling honor or position, control, fame, facilities. Different people have different capacity, and some people can hold any position and not be distracted or deluded. And some people get to little position, the ego explodes, or just the mind becomes completely absorbed, obsessed. It's like a drug, huh? Position, name, fame, control, influence. So your question was in terms of preaching to others. Yeah, because in one sense, the fact that there are fall downs, in one sense, it's a proof, it's a guarantee of ISKCON. Yes, this is a spiritual movement, and somebody or many people who have problems, they're not anymore in those positions. If you see other religions, I mean, even the Dalai Lama eats meat. That would disqualify even a new Bhakta, right? But he's the head of a Tibetan Buddhist. The Pope eats meat. And besides that, okay, that's a different culture. But many leaders spiritually in India, so many Mayavadi sannyasis have ashram, there are so many scandals, right? And still they're there. Still they're in saffron. Still there with the big beard and in saffron, they own everything. I mean, look at Sai Baba. You heard about the scandals with the kids and things. But still he was Sai Baba. Still he was in saffron. So for us, it's a point, it's a badge of honor. Yes, in ISKCON people have problems, but generally they are removed. So this is a plus point. You follow? Instead, because nobody has ownership, at least technically or legally. See, if I'm a Swami, my ashram somewhere in Hardwar, it's my ashram, I am the owner, and I'm a guru. Then if I do something with some American girls that they come to Hardwar, I'm still the boss. Who can tell me anything? So we don't know. Some may be real yogis, some may be real bogies. We don't know. But at least in ISKCON we can say, yes, we had people who had fell down and they were removed. We had people who had sannyasi and they were removed. So that's like a guarantee. And look, if you're afraid, somebody may also be afraid, oh, but you say, take a guru, and then I hear that the guru fell down. Okay, but it's like a university. It's like a university. Even in great universities, sometimes there is a scandal with a professor, right? Sexual harassment or some mismanagement of funds. But a good university takes care of that. And the person is removed, is what do you call, like some of you have seen the news, Harvard, that African-American lady was the head of Harvard a few days ago, right? She was removed. I don't know if you heard about that. Anyway, she came in the spotlight because they attacked her for anti-Semitism. They said something bad about Jews, apparently. But then they start digging because of political reason. They didn't like her. Some right-wing people didn't like it. So they start digging, and they found that she had committed plagiarism. Meaning in some scholarly paper that she wrote, actually she had copied. It was not her research. So she was removed. So that can happen anywhere. Even the biggest university in the world, they can, but then they remove the person. So therefore it's a guarantee. The problem is when you have an institution that the man is like what they call it, the God man, what they call it, God man. The God man, he owns everything, he can do anything, and nobody can say anything. That's the problem. ISKCON, it's not like that. So we should be kind of proud of our fall downs. In one sense, that yes, people have problems, and these people, at least some, they were removed. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Jagan Mata, Sachi Mata.
My answer is a little answered, Prabhuji. But my question was that so many big names are there, they are falling down. So sometimes I get insecure. It can be happen to me also. So how can we do the reality check that no, this is not going to happen with me? Yeah, it's happen. If something, I can check on myself.
Well, see, obviously, I give you an analogy. Obviously, somebody who works at the top of the building, when the person falls down, he can hurt himself very badly. Okay, if you work on the first floor, even if you sleep, okay, maximum you break a leg. Okay, so similarly, being a sannyasi, being a guru, obviously you are at the top of the spiritual hierarchy, right? And obviously you're dealing with more opulence, more control. You can tell people, and people, oh, Guru Maharaj. So whatever you say, some people take it very seriously. So it's easier to become proud, or it's easy to become careless in one sense. Now, you are not sannyasi, and no, you are grihastha, right? So that's already we discussed, is a fortress. Of course, there are risks in anything. There are risks everywhere and everything. But, you have your husband, you have your son, right? So you have your, hopefully your emotional stability, your identity. And so obviously it's less dangerous than taking a very high position. Okay? So yes, you need to still be careful. Be careful. You still have to see about the regulatory principles. You still have to see about internal pride, or dealing with the devotees in a harsh way. You still have to. The dangers are similar, but maybe in a smaller scale. And plus, you need to see, okay, you need to see that we need to also see who gets successful, not just those who have problems. Those who have successful, they don't make news. Just yesterday, one Srila Prabhupada disciple left his body in Mayapur. Okay? He was very old, was very sick, he even had dementia. But, and frankly, I don't even know if I ever seen him, but I just read it in the community conference. So, sorry, I don't remember even the name. Maybe. Anyway, yesterday, one Srila Prabhupada disciple left his body, and he left the body in the Mayapur hospital. But, you could say he's successful, right? He took shelter in Mayapur. He left his body in Mayapur. He has been serving, I don't know, years and years and years. So he was successful, but that doesn't make any news. You follow? So many devotees are successful in Krishna consciousness. They already left the body, and they left the body not only geographically in Vrindavan, in Mayapur, in Puri, and so on, but they left the body in a very Krishna conscious way, surrounded by devotees, surrounded by the holy name, with Ganga Jal, with Tulsi, with Krishna, with Srila Prabhupada Dun machine. So those don't make much news. You follow? But the big people, when they fall down, make big news. Like there was last year this big what was that? This big businessman in India had some problem. What was his name? You heard that? One of the biggest industrialists in India.
Adani.
Yeah, some Adani guy, the one with the mustache, no, like fatty guy. So everybody heard about Adani. Okay, but so many business people are making a lot of money. You don't hear about them. So similarly in ISKCON, so many people are making a lot of spiritual money. Are building a lot of spiritual credits. Many, eventually everybody will leave the body. Many will be successful. They go back home, back to God. But it's not really news because, they're not famous. But those who are famous, sannyasi, Maharaj, guru, then, fall downs, problems. Yeah, but that's a small percentage. Like, for instance, I heard once, I read something that people were thinking that Hollywood stars commit more suicide than anybody else. But it's not true. It's not true. In America, you know the category that commits more suicide? You know? Dentists. Dentists are the category of people who commit more suicide in America. But now, if a dentist commits suicide in Oklahoma or in Minnesota, nobody hears about that. Doesn't probably even go in the newspaper, right? But if a Hollywood star, some actress, actor commits suicide, it's everywhere. All these tabloids, all the newspaper news. Oh, he committed suicide. La, 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 la. So people have an impression that Hollywood people, Hollywood stars, they commit a lot of suicide, but it's not true. Similarly, one may say, wow, in ISKCON, the majority fall down, but it's not true. At least in certain communities, it's not true. Okay? Okay? So, but still be careful, treat people nicely. Send your son to become a brahmachari. For some time at least.
If you want, I have no objection.
Okay. It's already good. Okay, so let's continue. So this mind, okay, is very powerful, very, 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 very powerful, because as we said, the mind is inert. It doesn't have a personality, doesn't have a soul. The mind is just, but because we have this mind since thousands and millions of lifetimes, then there is so much stuff inside. We don't even know how much stuff there is inside. We don't even know. It's like an enemy. See, one problem when this US go to fight in Iraq or in Afghanistan, one problem is that there everybody looks the same. The normal people have a big beard, have a big turban, and they have a big gun. Everybody. So every Afghani people has got a big gun, a big turban, and a big beard. So you don't know if he's a terrorist who's going to blow you up or it's just a normal guy. You don't know. So therefore, it's so hard to fight in those places. Iraq is the same. You don't know. So similarly, the mind, there's so much stuff. You don't even know what's inside there. You don't even know. And it may come up, maybe you go through a different astrological period. Maybe you get into Rao and then you start having crazy ideas. And maybe before you did not have these crazy ideas. Or maybe you enter into Venus, or sense gratification becomes very important to you. Or maybe you get into Sun and you get some power, some influence over others, and maybe you mistreat others. And maybe you never mistreated people before. But now you have power, you mistreat them. So, yeah. So this Bhagavatam, especially these verses, they tell us, be cautious. Don't believe too much. Don't believe at all in your mind. Don't think, oh, no, I've been 20 years doing this thing. Yeah, I'll do it for the next until I die. Yeah, I hope so, but it's not a given. So, continuing this tune, number 4, an unchaste woman is very easily carried away by paramours, and it sometimes happens that her husband is violently killed by her paramours. If the yogi gives his mind a chance and does not restrain it, his mind will give facility to enemies like lust, anger, and greed, and they will doubtlessly kill the yogi. Srila Prabhupada says, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that in the morning our first business should be to beat the mind with shoes 100 times, and before going to bed to beat the mind 100 times with a broomstick. In this way, one's mind can be kept under control. What does it mean? Obviously, not literally. I heard one devotee started doing literally every morning, take a shoe and beat himself. Then you get some brain damage or something. It's not. You shouldn't take literally. But it means you need to know we are living with an enemy, and like the perfect analogy. You capture this animal, but you can't think, oh, now I capture it, was there 20 years in the cage, now I open the cage, it will go. In 1 second, it's gone. 1 second is gone. Five, the mind is the root cause of lust, anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. Combined, these constitute bondage to fruitive activity. What learned men would put faith in the mind again and again, again and again. Cautionary words. Pride, for instance. It's easy to become proud when you have some success. People start liking us, start inviting us, start praising us, starting respect us very much, but you never know, because the mind is really strange. I know a devotee, for instance. He did some very fantastic service in a certain country in the world. He was not working in India, okay, some other country. And he developed a very good community and everything. And now, I don't know if what he developed, pride or what, okay, but somehow the culture there was that he was the Shiksha Guru automatically. If you join in the country, he's the Shiksha Guru of everybody. Okay? Like, automatically, no? Anyway, he did, I repeat, a lot of very special service. He was very organized, very strict, very hardworking. He had the job full time, but he was also able to find time to develop, preach, build a community, and all that. So I don't know what happened. And he was already, I think, at least in his 50s, maybe even his 60s. But he was already advanced in age. He had grown-up children and everything. And then he started sending sex messages to some young girls in the congregation, some teenagers. And it's so strange because, I mean, nowadays, anything digital always remains, right? So it's like crazy, doesn't make any sense. And people really got shocked. How can it be? I don't know how it happened, really, because I was also very sad, very sad. Such a leader, everybody in the country, thousands of people see him as, their Shiksha Guru, and he started doing these crazy things. I mean, I understand more, not that I agree, not I condone, but I understand running away with somebody. You follow what I'm saying? I understand that. But sending messages like this to teenagers, girls, was really like, I don't know, sickness, some strange thing. But the mind, you never know. You never know. He was successful in many ways in ISKCON. He was having a high position and a very influence and this and that. But then he kind of lost everything and his reputation was shattered. And of course, he must have suffered a lot. It creates suffering. And it's crazy. It's crazy, something useless. What do you send this message? Anyway, very sad. But this is all confirmation that you never know. You never know. Or you always know that the mind is dangerous. So Rishabhadeva adopted this behavior as an avaduta just to teach yogis how to give up the body. Some of the instructions, of course, are for particular people. Maybe in Kali Yuga we cannot do that type of yoga. It's not for us. It's not what the acharyas tell us to do. But for a certain category, Rishabhadeva was exemplary. So you give up your body in a way that just you have zero social prestige, zero social position, like that. So text 7 say, actually, Lord Rishabhadeva had no material body, but due to Yoga Maya, he considered his body material. And therefore, because he played like an ordinary human being, he gave up the mentality of identifying with it. So he did not have a material body, but Yoga Maya, he entered, like with Krishna Damodar, he feels actually fear for Mother Yashoda. He feels that. So he entered in this special Yoga Maya that he feels, okay, my body is material and I had to not identify with it. So he was going around, he had put stones in his mouth. He entered a forest near Kutakachala, and then he entered the fire. There was the fire in this forest, and the forest burned everything. And Srila Prabhupada says that due to Lord Rishabhadeva's presence, all the animals in the forest were also liberated from material engagement. And this is how he left the body. I mean, or twist is shown how to leave the body. Of course, the body is Satchitananda, but that's how the Leela of leaving the body for Rishabhadeva, just like the Leela of leaving the body for Balaram, or the Leela for leaving the body of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna. There is a Leela. So this is the Leela. Big forest fire, and he's gone. And the animals are also liberated because they were there. Like a Kurukshetra war, everybody was there, was liberated because they died more or less in the presence of Krishna. Now, there is a twist in the story. Text 9 says, the king of Konka, Venka, and Kutaka, whose name was Harat, heard of the activities of Rishabhadeva, and imitating Rishabhadeva's principles, introduced a new system of religion. He kind of speculated. He took Rishabhadeva seriously, but he didn't understand the point of the whole thing. So taking advantage of Kali Yuga, the age of sinful activities, King Harat, being bewildered, gave up the Vedic principles, which are free from risk, and concocted a new system of religion opposed to the Vedas. That was the beginning of the Jain Dharma. Many other so-called religions follow this atheistic system. Okay, so this is where history and theology combine. So Harat basically acted. Should probably say something. Let me find that quote I wanted to say. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada talks about Paundraka. You remember this Paundraka? He put two false arms and he said, no, I'm Krishna, I'm Narayana. Who is this Krishna? Why is he saying that he's Narayana? I'm Narayan. So similarly, this king, Harat, acted like a Paramahamsa and imitated Lord Rishabhadeva. And so this appears to be in South India. In fact, in South India, there's still this Jain. I mean, Jains are everywhere in the world, but I mean, there are only 5 million Jains, but they travel, they do business, diamond merchants, and so on. But if you search, like for instance, in the internet, they will tell you that Jain claim Rishabhadeva as their founder. They as kind of accept that. Of course, they don't accept as God because Jains are atheists. They don't accept God, just like Buddhists don't accept Buddha as an avatar of Krishna. So Jains accept Rishabhadeva as a whatever special yogi like that, but they don't accept him as Krishna. So in South India, some of you may have heard about Shravana Belagola. It's in Karnataka. They have this huge statue, Jain statue, and that's like one of the main points. There are many places. Gujarat is that, you know, there are about 7,000 Jain temples in India. So Jains are they're atheistic. Sometimes they're very strict, no onion, no garlic. In fact, when you take a flight, there is Jain meal, means vegetarian without onion and garlic. But theologically, there is no God. They believe in some sort of eternal soul, but it's not clear what this eternal soul does when he reaches the liberation. It's a very, very incomplete thing. You know, it's similar to Buddhism, but Buddhists don't believe in the soul. The Jain believe in the soul, and as a community, generally they're very rich. You know, right? I mean, you know, Jain temples, they're always full of marbles and this and that. They're very opulent. And Jains, sometimes they do, I mean, maybe you know this thing better than me, but Jains, sometimes they do intermarriages between Hindu and Jains because they're very similar, culturally speaking. And some devotees are actually from Jain background. You know that? So, you know, some devotees are from Jain background. We have a number of, I think even Gaur Gopal was Jain, right? You know that? Gaur Gopal, famous Gaur Gopal? I think he was Jain. Then I know other Putri Brahmacharis were Jains. And one Brahmachari told me that even Jains now they're losing their religion because Jain was very strict, no onion, no garlic. And he, as a Brahmachari, went, there was a wedding, you know, okay, you go, part of the family. And many people, even in the Jain wedding, they were eating onion and garlic. So anyway, I'm not here to criticize anybody, but certainly when you don't have philosophy, when you don't have practice, when you don't chant the holy name, no, these things slowly degrade, slowly or fastly degrade in Kali Yuga. So anyway, this is the history. So, and the verse say, many other so-called religions follow this atheistic system. Because in one sense, it's easy to speculate. okay, they understand the world is suffering, we need to be transcendental, and then they speculate some path, some renunciation, some fasting, something, and they go ahead and then they do. And some religions, they become pretty big. And they disappear in the river of history. How many of you heard about the religion called Manichaeism? There was a founder, his name was Mani, and he was born in what today is Iran, so Middle East. And he became very successful. He had this kind of dual philosophy, there is bad and there is good, like that. But he became very successful. At one point, they had this religion was from China to Spain, which is a major part of the world. And then they completely disappeared. We only know about them because some Christian writers, especially Augustine, you may have heard about Augustine, he wrote against this Manichaeism. Otherwise, we don't know anything. We don't have any book. We don't have any monastery. We don't have anything. We only know about them because some Christian author attacked them so badly. So we know, oh, there was this thing. But it was a big thing, very big thing. So I'm just saying, many religions become even very big. And then they appear, they disappear. But we have Priya Mukunda Prabhu. Jain in North India are notorious for not having onion and garlic, but heavily indulging in alcohol. Yeah. Yeah, because without devotion to God, really, it's hard to control the senses, I didn't know that. So they're notorious, they drink a lot. Sad, very sad. I mean, we shouldn't be happy that they do that, but it's sad. Okay, so the Bhagavatam opens our eyes into so many realities. Sukadeva Goswami explained, during this age of Kali, people are more inclined to irreligious systems because they don't want to, surrender to God. No, it's easy to, Buddhist, like it's very fashionable in the West to be Buddhist. What does it mean to be Buddhist? Doesn't mean much, really. Doesn't mean much. So it's like easier. Okay, yeah, I'm Buddhist. I'm cool, I'm Buddhist. So many artists say, I'm Buddhist. Consequently, these people, I'm keeping reading, consequently, these people will naturally derive Vedic authority. The followers of Vedic authority, the Brahmanas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the devotees. So, Srila Prabhupada basically said that the hippies are originated by Harat. Srila Prabhupada said the hippies were more or less offshoots of Mayavada philosophy because they think themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So some hippies, when Srila Prabhupada came to the West, many hippies were studying Eastern philosophy, and they got into so many stupid ideas like I'm God and this and that. There was a devotee, there's still a devotee. She's a Srila Prabhupada disciple. Last time she was living in Alachua. She, before joining, she was also into this kind of strange philosophy. And one day she went up a mountain. There's a particular meditation. She went up to a mountain in the morning, early morning, and she started meditating. I am making the sun rise. I am making the sun rise. I'm making the sun rise. And then the sun comes up. Obviously, the sun will come up anyway, but this is a kind of stupid hippie meditation. Then she met Srila Prabhupada early, 67, 68. And during a class, without knowing, without having talked to her or anything, Srila Prabhupada looked over her and Srila Prabhupada said, "You cannot make the sun rise." Whoa, like she was shocked. Like, whoa. she basically converted right on the spot. It's like, whoa, because it was true. She was thinking like that or trying to think like that. And Srila Prabhupada really kind of smashed this idea philosophically, so personal. She also told us that one day, because she was one of the early disciples, so Srila Prabhupada knew her, okay? Her name is Janava Devi. I think she's still in Alachua, I don't know. Very sweet devotee, very dedicated, very, very nice devotee, okay? So she was one of the early devotees of Srila Prabhupada, the 68, like that. At that time, Srila Prabhupada knew everybody person. At one point, she had, after 2-3 years, the movement was growing. And at one point, she had some doubt. Does Srila Prabhupada remembers me? She was already initiated and everything, but it was sometimes she didn't meet Srila Prabhupada, she didn't interact. So at one point she felt, does Srila Prabhupada remember me? Doesn't know that I exist? She had this doubt, She felt lonely. And then Srila Prabhupada was in another city, and they were talking with devotees, and somehow her name came up. Now they were telling something like, Srila Prabhupada, in this temple, we have this devotee, we have Janava. And Srila Prabhupada said, I know Janava. And then, and then this devotee told her that Srila Prabhupada, very forcefully said, I know Janava. And then this devotee reported to her, and she again felt like Srila Prabhupada knew her mind and she spoke exactly what she needed to hear. But back to this hippies, Srila Prabhupada had experience that people will come all drugged and they will challenge, I am God. There is also in Lilamrita, some crazy guy came, I am God. And these people are beyond arguing. What are you going to say, And Srila Prabhupada just said, oh, put the palm, I offer you my respectful obeisance. Finish, Okay, you're God, Hare Krishna. I offer you my respectful obeisance. Go. So Srila Prabhupada had to deal with so many crazy people, and therefore he's remembering all these things, that the hippies are basically the followers of Harat. 11, low-class people, due to their gross ignorance, introduce a system of religion that deviates from the Vedic principles. Following their own mental concoction, they automatically fall down into the darkest regions of ignorance. As Srila Prabhupada said in Bhagavad Gita, quotes in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, he says, look, some people create religion in name only. They create rituals, they create worship, they create things. Some of you have heard, you remember this movie, Indian movie, Santoshi Ma? Have you heard about this movie? Huh? So I was surprised because I was in India since a short time, and they told me that this Santoshi Ma actually doesn't exist. Do you confirm? There's no, in any Vedic literature, this Santoshi Ma. I don't know. The devotees told me. I was in India since short time, and in the TV they were giving this Santoshi Ma. No, there is even this song, Santoshi Ma, hey Ma. No, they were dancing. And I heard that it became a big phenomenon in India, at least when it came out 40 years ago. And people started opening temples to this Santoshi Ma, because the story was, I didn't see the whole movie, but the story was that there was a nice guy and he started worshiping Santoshi Ma and everything goes good for him, basically. And I mean, you know, maybe you know better. And people started opening temple of this Santoshi Ma, became a sensation. And then the devotees told me, look, this Santoshi Ma doesn't exist. It is nowhere in the Vedic literature. It's just an imagination. Do you confirm? It's a fact?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes, Prabhuji. It is true.
It's true that it doesn't exist.
I don't know it exists or not, but the story is true that people are worshipping and women are doing fast on Friday for Santoshi Mata.
Really?
And in my childhood, I've seen that movie also.
But do you have any evidence that is in any Vedic literature, this Santoshi Ma?
No, I don't have it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the devotees told me that it doesn't exist. But my point, this is another point. You see, this is another point that Shukadeva Goswami says. Low-class people introduce a system of religion that deviates from the Vedic principles. So they maybe Santoshi Ma or some Baba or some this, that. No, I mean, there are so many of these so-called holy men. You heard about this Nityananda? This Nityananda from South India? You heard about that? That now he created the country. You heard about that? You heard? Let me see.
Yes, we heard.
Yeah, so what's the name of the quote unquote country?
Country name, I don't know. He bought an island where he himself declared that this is my country.
Okay, it's a self-proclaimed country called Kailash. Huh? Who purchased an island off the coast of Ecuador. And there was an article in some news that they became a joke because some politician actually made a treaty with this Kailash. They thought that this really exists. And then this was a scandal. This politician was like was ridiculed by the whole world because you are making a decree, you're making a treaty with a country that doesn't exist. No country in the world recognizes this country. But anyway, this is Kali Yuga. People just make up things and people believe it. Anyway, I mean, you are Indian, I mean, you're born in India, grew up, so I think you could give many more examples. You must have heard all sorts of things. So it's a fact. Although Shukadeva Goswami is speaking 5,000 years ago, it's a fact even now. 12, in this age of Kali, people are overwhelmed by the modes of passion and ignorance. So Lord Rishabhadeva incarnated himself to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. Srila Prabhupada say, if one strictly followed the instructions of Rishabhadeva given in the 5th chapter, he will certainly be liberated. Then Shukadeva Goswami introduces 2 verses that he say that the sages sing these 2 shlokas, glorifying Rishabhadeva. This is text, starts at text 13. Tasyanugunan shlokan gayanti, means they sing his character through these shlokas, some great scholars. Aho bhuva sapta samudrat vatya dvipeshu bharsheshu adipunyam etad gayanti yatratya Jana murare karmani bhadranya vataravanti. This is the shloka. Oh, this earthly planet contains 7 seas and many islands and lands, of which Bharatvarsha is considered the most pious. People of Bharatvarsha are accustomed to glorify the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnations as Lord Rishabhadeva and others. All these activities are very auspicious for the welfare of humanity. And Srila Prabhupada here takes the opportunity to speak about the glories of a birth in India. It's a fact that people in India are very fortunate. Many places are holy places already, holy rivers, holy scriptures, and there is some remembrance, at least some reverberations of culture. Of course, a lot is being lost and so on, but still, just by being born in India, everybody hears Krishna, about Rama. Just by being born in India, you at least by these TV serials, right? Every 20 years there is the TV serials about Rama. I remember when I came first, there was a TV serial. I mean, I didn't see also because it was Hindi. I didn't understand anything, but the whole country was watching this TV serial. In fact, even the ISKCON devotees was. I think was Sunday morning, and I remember Mayapur once. Even our devotees would just stop and even some sannyasis would stop and I don't know Hindi, but they will tell me that the Hindi was very beautiful, very poetic, very high class. So they were really enjoying. And more or less was the real story of Ram. I mean, it was quite, from what I understand, the devotees were saying that no, it's pretty much bona fide. It's not like some speculations. And then there was this Mahabharat, very famous with that Krishna. What was his name? The actor, Nitin something. What was his name?
Nitish Bharadwaj.
Okay, so in other words, just by being Indian and watching TV, you get some Krishna consciousness, and generally this doesn't happen. I mean, it doesn't happen. When you grow up in some other country, you don't watch about Krishna. You watch about, I mean, the usual thing. Usual romance or thrillers or crime, sports, cartoons, Mickey Mouse, all these basic stupid things. So, but even a normal person, ignorant person in India gets Krishna, and that's why, of course, ISKCON is very much successful in India because there is this background, there's people ready. There's this continuation of culture, and they naturally are attracted. They may not immediately understand, okay, they come to a temple, there is Radha Krishna, that they know. Then maybe there is Jagannath, and okay, they know Jagannath, more or less, they know Jagannath and Puri, they know. And then there is Gornitai. Maybe at the beginning they don't know who is this Gornitai. But because it's in the package, they kind of accept, and then they learn, oh, it's Krishna who came as Gornitai. So yes, definitely, although there are so many strange things in India, still something remains, definitely. And Srila Prabhupada stressed, Bharata Bhumite, Manushya Jamma Yar, Jamma Sar, Taka Kori Koro Para Upakar. Very much he stressed this to Indians. Look, he said, look, I'm just one Indian, and look how much somehow was done. If all the Indians do that, take this thing of preaching the Bhagavad Gita is very attractive. There's so much philosophy, there's so much pathos, there's so much, I mean, Bhagavad Gita is rich in every sense. So, and all these philosophies generally are very poor. They're very poor, philosophically, historically. There's not much, no. Did I tell you how, I don't know, because we are going on since a month, but did I tell you how Jesus Christ in the original scriptures never said that he was the only Son of God? Did I tell you? Anyway, I tell you something, which although I was born Christian and I was going to church in my childhood, nobody told me this. I just discovered recently. See, one strong selling point for Christians is that Jesus is the only Son of God. That's their philosophy. And you know, there are 4 Gospels. Gospel is the story of Jesus, and there are 4: Mark, Matthew, Lucas, and John. Now, 3 of them, they're very similar. They're called synoptic. They're very similar. There are differences in what they say, but they're basically very similar. And these Gospels, they never say that Jesus was the only Son of God. They never say. The 4th one that people say is the John Gospel is different. It's different in structure, and nobody knows who is this John. They gave this name John, but nobody really knows who wrote this. And they say this was written some 90 years or 110 years after Jesus. Okay? And in that, John, for the first time, he says, Jesus is the only Son of God. And it does not even say that Jesus said that. You follow? It doesn't say Jesus says this. No, it just say his conclusion is Jesus is the only Son of God. And then after 300 years, they made a big council, Nicaea, famous council, and they accepted this as the Christian faith because there were so many theories and they kind of amalgamate everything. And this is one of the first things. And it's nowhere. It's not in the Bible. It's not in the old. It's not in the old Bible. It was not in the Gospel. It was just somebody writing somewhere. Nobody knows who is this person. He was a good writer. That must be said. But he just wrote something and became part of the doctrine. And even after 2,000 years, that's one of the major selling points for Christians. Say this is the only Son of God, and there is no basis. It was a good marketing call, like a good advertisement, because the Mediterranean was like Ridananda Maharaj called it was the Mediterranean Hindus. In the Mediterranean, everybody had different worships. Somebody worships some Greek god, some Middle Eastern god, some female god, male god. The Romans had so many different gods. So it was like Hinduism, okay? And so that this small sect of Christians had to compete with these big religions, big temples, huge temples, and they have nothing. So somehow they thought, okay, let us make Jesus so big that we can compete with all these other gods. So they turned a man, a great man, Sri Prabhupada says Shakti Vishavatara, so great, your devotee, guru, whatever, but they turned him into a god. And another thing they did, they put Christmas on the 25th December, because that's like in the Roman culture, it was the birth of the sun, because that's when the sun starts becoming, the length of the day starts becoming longer. So it was a completely artificial thing. Nobody knows when Jesus was born, but they put him on 25th December to kind of say, you see, he's like the son of the world. And he's the only Son of God. And and then they made this religion. There's really nothing else. I mean, nothing else. They have a Bible, the whole story of the Jewish people, how God helped them, protected them, gave some laws. That's there. But in terms of making Jesus into a God, from what I understand historically, it's a complete invention. You're not very interested in Christian theology, it seems. Everybody's okay. Let's finish this chapter. And then you can get rid of me. Okay, so then there is another verse of the glories of the dynasty of Priyavrata. Why? Because the Lord appeared in it. Huh? And then Shukadeva goes on and say, who is that mystic yogi who can follow the example of Lord Rishabhadeva even within his mind? So he never aspired for siddhis. Srila Prabhupada said these material things. He also says superficial material perfections. Obviously, he says the real, quote, the real purpose of the yoga system is to achieve the favor and shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just to get some power to again, Ishvara Aham Bhogi, to control and enjoy the world. So, Lord Rishabhadeva is the master of all. The Palashruti, the fruit of listening to this chapter, is unalloyed devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada stressed here that these teachings are for all the ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and especially Kali Yuga. And there's a verse that talks about devotees and mukti, that for devotees, mukti is not really a big thing. They don't even want it. They don't even aspire for it. They just want pure devotional service. Then there is an exchange which I find interesting because Srila Prabhupada explained. Okay, I read from Srila Prabhupada, so that's his word. Shukadeva Goswami thought it wise to encourage the king, King Parikshit, because the king might be thinking of the glorious position of various royal dynasties. Especially glorious is the dynasty of Priyavrata, in which the supreme Lord Rishabhadeva incarnated. Maharaj Parikshit might be thinking that the Kuru dynasty was not as fortunate as the others because the Supreme Lord did not appear in the family. Neither as Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, Lord Rishabhadeva, or Maharaj Prithu. End of quote. So then he says, no, Shukadeva Goswami said, no, Krishna was very, very, very close to the Pandavas. So the Pandavas, in one sense, was more glorious because Krishna had this very, very personal relation. He might not have been born in the Kuru dynasty, but he had so much close connection. So Maharaj Parikshit should not feel less. So this is interesting psychological reading, how there is the relation, it's not just telling these narrations for philosophy, but there is also this psychological dynamic that, okay, Maharaj Parikshit is listening, oh, the glories of Priyavrata dynasty, the glory of this, that. So what about my dynasty? No, your dynasty in one sense is even more glorious because Krishna was so close to the Pandavas. So no, don't worry, you're not missing out. And then it ends with homage, which we could read. And then you can prepare some questions if you have. You have 7-8 minutes more. Nityanubhuta nijalabha nivritta trishna shreyasya tadarachanaya chirasupta buddhe lokasya ya karunaya bhayam atmalokam akyam namo bhagavate Rishabhaya tasmai. So he ends the chapter and the whole story of Rishabhadeva with these obeisances, which I want to share for you. Why not? At conclusion, the Supreme Personality of God, the Lord Rishabhadeva, was fully aware of his true identity. Therefore, he was self-sufficient. He did not desire external gratification. There was no need for him to aspire for success, since he was complete in himself. Those who unnecessarily engage in bodily conceptions and create an atmosphere of materialism are always ignorant of their self-interest. Out of his causeless mercy, Lord Rishabhadeva taught the self's real identity and the goal of life. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto the Lord who appeared as Lord Rishabhadeva. Akyanamo Bhagavate Rishabhaya Tasmahi. And this brings us to the end. So we cover 6 chapters, starting from Maharaj Priyavrata, he's accepting the kingdom. Marvelous accomplishment. He created the sun. He created 7 rims that then created the 7 oceans around Jambudvipa or Bhumandala. We heard about Maharaj Agnidra and his relation with Purvachiti, the Apsara, sent by Brahma. Then Maharaj Agnidra's sons, of which Nabhi was the first, and then he desired to have a son like God. God said, well, there's nobody like me, so I need to come. I'll come. So Rishabhadeva appears as the son of Nabi and Merudevi. Nabi goes to the forest in observance of the rule of Varnashram. Then there is this description. Everybody loved Rishabhadeva. Everybody liked him. It was so resplendent. Obviously, it's God, it's Krishna, they're all attractive. So then chapter 5, perhaps the most important part of what we discussed, the instructions of Lord Rishabhadeva. Famous instructions. Nayam deho de vajamri loke kashtam kamam harate vidbhujam he tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam shuddhet yasmat brahma shokyam tvanantam. And so many others. Then Rishabhadeva leaves, tells the sons, okay, accept Bharat. Then he leaves. He has this very special yoga where he acts like people thought was a madman. He was so detached and so transcendental. Then he leaves this body, there's a lila, or apparently leaving the body in this forest fire, and there is a start of bogus religious groups based on something he did, speculating on what was the idea. And then we have this conclusion, this prayer by Shukadeva Goswami. So from now onwards, who is your next teacher? Who's the next? You don't know. They tell you at the last moment. Okay. So, certainly somebody better than me. So please accept my apologies for anything I may have done or said that was not up to standard. So any final question or comment? We have 5 minutes if you want to use the whole time.
Thank you so very much, Prabhuji.
Can I see your faces at least in the last 4 minutes? If you okay, thank you. Gita Krishna Prabhu, Ishwar Chitra Mataji. We want, of course, to emphasize also the effort of our devotees in Pakistan. Jia Kumari Mataji, somebody else is from Pakistan? You? Oh, Lila Priya Sham, also from Pakistan. I don't know your situation. It's not the
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Yes, Prabhuji, I'm from Pakistan, Karachi.
Okay, so I hope being in a Muslim country is not too much of a disturbance.
It is sometimes, Prabhu, but yeah, it's manageable.
I'm glad to hear that. And Jia Kumari?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am
Hare
I
Krishna.
audible?
Yes, audible.
Yes, Prabhuji, we are Pakistani. My sister also with me, Deen Pavni. She's also in this page. She's also Anna.
Okay. And you are also in Karachi.
No, Hyderabad. We both are from Hyderabad, and I don't think that we face much problems practicing our Krishna consciousness here, because everything is available. Yes, sometimes we need books to study, Srila Prabhupada's books in English language, which are very difficult to arrange. Matlab, we have to ask somebody to send it from other countries and all. Otherwise, it is manageable, easy.
You know that the BBT did this new program, Transcend. Have you heard about that?
No,
No?
no.
Okay, let me see. BBT Send. Okay, I send you this link. Transcend Store. It's a new thing. Came out a few weeks ago. I want to share for you. Can you see? So it's called Transcend Store. I'll put it in the Zoom. They made this new thing in different languages of all the books, audiobooks, ebooks, audiobooks, bookmark, flash card, highlight, text format, and you can have it in different Indian languages. It's not free. It's not free, but I guess it's worth, especially if you have hard time to get the books. So let me put, what is, what I'm sharing? Chat. Let me put this in the chat. Transcend Store. And there is also a phone app with all the books. This is for free. I'm not sure what versions, you know, in some parts of the world they have this controversy, which edition we should study, this, that. Frankly, I don't care much about that. If you go on your phone, it's called Bhakti Vedanta Library. Some of you have this. So this is Transcend from the BBT. And there is also this app from the phone, Bhakti Vedanta Library. And this is free.
And Kindle versions of some of these books are also available online, Prabhuji. You know, you can download them on Kindle.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, even the one when I share this Veda base, what's called vedabase.io, that you know also. Vedabase.io. You can also find books in different languages like that. Okay, so all the best to the devotees in Pakistan, all the devotees in Bharat. It's 1 o'clock, so feel free to go. I much appreciated your association. Thank you very much. But so time is officially up. If you want to stay a few minutes more, you want to discuss something, we can stay. Otherwise, we can close.
Thank you so very much, Prabhuji, for giving us the sessions. It was like getting answered of all the questions. And it was like, in the beginning, I was a little shy to ask, but later on, I was realizing that you have answers of all the questions. So we should ask like, and it was really getting from when I was taking the recap and I was hearing the recordings. So I was finding that from each thing, from maximum perspectives we were
Why
getting.
you hear
Thank
again
you
this
so
thing?
very much.
You heard again and again this thing? No, I don't know. You have the time for that. So,
Little time. So thank you so very much, Prabhuji, for your time. Thank you so very much for giving the sessions. And can we request you that in future also, if you can give us your associations, we really request you.
if they invite me again, I will certainly seriously consider.
Thank you so much.
So best wishes for your continuation of this Bhakti Vaibhava course. Now you got the 5th canto, then you got the 6th canto. So you'll take, how much more it will take to complete?
We will complete in May, Prabhuji.
Oh, this May, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So
May
best
20.
wishes for your exams. But more than it, no, I laugh because sometimes there is like a national psychosis about this exam and tests. But main thing is the absorption, the realization, the appreciation, the attraction, not just, of course, it's important as servants of Mahaprabhu to learn the Bhagavatam a little systematically, repeat. But main thing, of course, is developing love for Krishna, developing attraction. We hear about Rishabhadeva. We should be grateful to Rishabhadeva. We should be thinking of him like that. Okay, so thank you so much. Please pray for me in your free time. I mean, not in all free time, but once in a while. When again you go through Rishabhadeva Priyavrata, you may just pray for that person. What was his name? Kautilya, something like Kubuddi. No, Kaunteya. Yes. So do a little prayer. Krishna, please take care of him. Okay, Hare Krishna. So it's Ekadasi also in Delhi, right? So happy Ekadasi then. Jai. My obeisances. Namo.
Kunte Prabhu ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Bhakti Vaibhava,
Jai, jai,
students ki jai.
jai, 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 jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.